Welcome back to NASM CPT exam prep. This is Chapter 2 of 20, still in basic and applied sciences and nutritional concepts. Today's lesson is basic exercise science. We'll cover the nervous system's role in movement, muscle fiber types, and the 3 types of muscle actions. This is vocabulary you're going to use in almost every lesson from here on, so it's worth taking your time with it. By the end of this lesson, you'll be able to do 4 things. First, describe the CNS, the PNS, and motor units. Second, explain the role of proprioceptors in movement. Third, differentiate type 1 and type 2 muscle fibers. And fourth, identify concentric, eccentric, and isometric muscle actions. 4 terms, 4 ideas. Let's build them one at a time. Let's start with nerves. First, the central nervous system, or CNS. That's the brain and the spinal cord, where movement decisions are actually made and coordinated. Second, the peripheral nervous system, or PNS. This is the network of nerves connecting the CNS to muscles and sensory receptors throughout the body. Third, the motor unit, a single motor neuron and all the muscle fibers it controls. Here's the key detail. They all fire together. And fourth, proprioceptors, muscle spindles and Golgi tendon organs feeding the nervous system information about length, tension, and joint position. This is the sensory basis behind the balance training you'll see in Lesson 10. I know this is dense vocabulary, but it's foundational. Reflexes like autogenic inhibition and reciprocal inhibition, which resurface later in Lesson 7's flexibility training, all run through this system. Take your time here. This slide rewards being slowed down and revisited. Now let's talk about muscle fiber types. There are 2 main types. Type 1, also called slow twitch. These fibers are fatigue resistant, and they sustain force for a long time. They're best suited for endurance. Think steady-state cardio from Lesson 8. Or Phase 1 of the OPT model in Lesson 14. Type 2, fast twitch. These fibers produce force quickly and powerfully, but they fatigue faster. They're best suited for strength and power, Phases 4 and 5 in Lesson 14, and the plyometric work you'll see in Lesson 11. Here's a picture to hold on to. Think of a marathoner's calves versus a sprinter's calves. Different dominant fiber ratios, shaped partly by genetics and partly by years of training. One more important note. Most muscles contain a mix of both fiber types. Training shifts performance, but it doesn't fully convert one fiber type into the other. Let's break down every single rep. There are 3 types of muscle actions. Concentric. The muscle shortens while producing force. This is the lifting portion of a rep, like the upward phase of a squat. Eccentric. The muscle lengthens while producing force. This is the lowering portion, and it's also the loading phase of the stretch shortening cycle you'll see in Lesson 11. And isometric. The muscle produces force without changing length. Think of a held position, like the pause at the bottom of a plank. If you want a physical way to remember this, picture a bicep curl. Lifting is concentric, lowering is eccentric, and holding at the top is isometric. This is probably the most immediately useful vocabulary in the whole lesson, because it directly explains the tempo variable you'll see in Lesson 13. Here's where it all connects. Remember the tempo acute variable from Lesson 13 or 14's tables? It's really just a prescription for how long each of these 3 actions should take. Let's decode an example, a 4-2-1 tempo. That means a 4-second eccentric, a 2-second isometric pause, and a 1-second concentric. If you've already seen tempo prescriptions in Lesson 13 or 14's tables, this connection should click immediately. It's probably the single most satisfying aha moment in this whole lesson. Let's check your understanding. Question: which fiber type is best suited to endurance activity? take a second and think it through. The correct answer is type 1, the slow twitch fibers. Here's why. Type 1 fibers are fatigue-resistant and suited to sustained, lower-intensity endurance activity. One more question. Which muscle action describes the lowering phase of a squat? Pause and think back to the bicep curl example. The correct answer is eccentric. Here's why. The eccentric action is the muscle lengthening while producing force, which is exactly what happens during the lowering phase of a squat. Let's bring it all together. The CNS, brain and spinal cord, makes movement decisions. The PNS carries those signals to muscles and sensory receptors. A motor unit is one motor neuron plus every fiber it controls, and they all fire together. Proprioceptors feed the nervous system information about length, tension, and joint position. Type 1 fibers favor endurance. Type 2 fibers favor strength and power. And there are 3 muscle actions: concentric, eccentric, and isometric. Tempo is just these 3 timed. Notice the order we covered this in. Nervous system first, fiber type second, muscle actions third. And that tempo connection is the most practically useful takeaway to carry forward with you. Great work getting through Lesson 2. Next up is Lesson 3, the cardiorespiratory system. We'll cover how the heart and lungs support exercise.